Hey everybody, Cody here with RSG Outdoors, and today's video, we're going to be doing a breakdown and comparison of the Penn Squall 2 to the Penn Fathom 2, and hopefully help you make a better decision when you go to purchase your next catfishing reel. Alright, so if you've already done an internet search trying to figure out which catfishing reel you should purchase next, you've probably already come across the Fathom 2 and the Squall 2 as options on forums and things like that. They're both really dependable, well-known reels that are very popular in the catfishing world, as well as other big game fish species as well. So we're going to go ahead and break both of these reels down and do a comparison of them internally, as well as talk about some of their external components that make them a difference in price, and also make them a difference as far as what application they might be more suited for, depending on the type of fishing that you do. So at an outward glance, the Squall 2 has a graphite body and side plates, which makes it a little bit lighter than the Fathom 2, which has an all-metal body and side plates. And that's a difference of about 3 ounces on the 20 series. So let's go ahead and get them taken apart, and we'll make some comparisons of that internal workings. So now that these reels are kind of broken down, we can see a couple of differences between them. So the Squall 2 is still over here on the left, and the Fathom 2 is still over here on the right as you're looking at it from your screen. The handle makeup and construction are pretty much the same for both. They have the same spacers, they have the same type of star drag, handle, everything like that is the same. The screws for the side plates are a little bit smaller on the Fathom than they are on the Squall, and I think the reason for that is this is all metal body, so the threading is a little more robust. They give you a little extra length on these screws in order to compensate for the potentially weaker threads that you might find on the graphite frame of the Squall. I've not had any issues with them yet, and I don't foresee that I ever will, but I think that's kind of the thought process there. This small piece here that was detachable from the side plate of the Fathom is actually just built in to the Squall. We can see they have very similar side plates here, and this is where the gear shaft is going to go in on each reel, and then you can see the release is pretty much the same on both. If you look at the box and also on Penn's website, they advertise that the Squall has 3+1 stainless steel bearings, while the Fathom has 4+1. That additional bearing in the Fathom is actually found on the gear shaft. So on the Squall, the bottom of the main gear shaft, this is actually a brass bushing. It's not actually a bearing, but it still moves freely, and as long as it's properly maintained and lubricated, it works just fine. And on the gear shaft of the Fathom, it's actually a fully enclosed stainless steel bearing, and that's where that actual bearing, or that's what that extra bearing is on the Fathom versus the Squall. The main gear, both are brass. The Fathom's is a little bit larger. And then the drag matrix, same deal. They're both the HT100 drag matrix. They have 3 carbon fiber washers and 3 stainless steel spacing washers. Comparing the drag washers, same as the main gear. The Fathoms are slightly larger. However, the Squall is listed as having a slightly higher drag capacity. But in my experience, both generate about the same. The Fathoms might be slightly smoother in terms of drag, but as far as the amount of drag they can generate, they're about the same. Coming down to the clicker plate. So the Squall's is held on by 3 screws that are slightly longer, while the Fathom has 4, a little bit shorter. Same deal, steel body versus graphite body. That's my assumption on that. The Fathom is built a little bit more robust compared to the Squall, but they're pretty much the same components internally, and this is just the mechanics for your clicker. The spools are virtually identical. Now, the only thing you might notice that's different there is the Fathoms has a bearing on it. Well, the Squall actually has that bearing. It just happens to be located inside of the main housing. And it's got a retaining clip in there that I could take out if I wanted to and pull that bearing out, but I don't generally take that out of there unless I need to replace it. And then the main bodies themselves, the all-metal body of the Fathom. They did drill some holes in there. I'm assuming that's just to reduce the weight a little bit since it is all metal. And then the graphite body of the Squall. Okay, so now we've broken both of the reels down. We've seen what their differences are internally. And we've seen where the different bearing is. We've seen the different sizes of their gears, the different sizes of their drag washers. But we know that their stats are pretty much the same. So why would you choose one over the other? Well, if you're a more average saltwater fisherman, or if you travel to saltwater more often, where you have the potential of hooking up on extremely large fish, you may want to go with the Fathom. Now, Fathoms run a little bit more. They're about $220 for retail price, but that all-metal body is going to give you a little bit more strength and a little more durability if you get a hard-running fish and you have to tighten the drag down all the way. It puts a lot of torque on the spool and the frame. If you're just targeting freshwater fish, or if you're just targeting large catfish, any large game fish in freshwater, the Squall 2 is probably going to be more than enough for you. Like I said, they have very similar construction. The Squall is a little bit lighter, so it's easier to cast over and over again. They have basically the same drag. They have the same size spools, so they have the same capacities. And you're generally going to get a Squall for around $140 for retail price. Alright everyone, that's going to do it for today's video. If you haven't yet, make sure you go down to the bottom of your screen and subscribe to the channel. Leave us a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions about either of these two reels, let me know in the comments down below and I'll get those answered as quick as I can. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time on RSG Outdoors.